Welcome to Lecture 7 of an Introduction to Computer Science with Python. And today we'll be talking about whether you should download Python or not, indexing, and the len function. So first, an announcement. Don't just listen to me type code out, because that's not how you learn. Pause the video occasionally and try to do the code yourself, your own way. I can only teach you the things you need to know, not how you learn them. How you learn them is really depending on things that you already know, experiences you might have, etc. And I can't do that to every person that watches this video. It's like learning to swim versus seeing someone else swim. It's a very different experience. So first, with that in mind, where do I code? For real-time coding competitions, you could be banned if your Replit code is public. So right now, this REPL, which is like a group of code files, is right now public. So if I go here, right now it says public. And I can't make it private unless if I have like Replit Premium. So right now it's public, anybody can see this code. That's a problem because in real-time coding competitions, you can't let other people see your code, otherwise it's essentially cheating. So you would have to manually make your code private. If you had like the option to do it privately, then Replit would theoretically do you well forever, but most people don't, so it's better to do the following thing. Website is Replit is what we use now. A few things to note about Replit: don't type code with an on-screen keyboard. It's slow, and you're more likely to make mistakes with autocorrect, autocaps, etc. Plus, you can't see as much code, which gets tiring later on. For example, if you're on a phone right now, and you're coding with a phone, that is not a good idea, because your phone will do things like autocorrect, autocaps, and you can't see most of your screen when you are typing, because typing takes up at least a third of the screen when you are typing. So in other words, try not to code with a phone or tablet. For example, Apple and Android phones, iPads, Surface Pro, unless if you have an actual keyboard connected to it. For example, Magic Keyboard for iPad. If you want to download Python, I did make a separate video about why you should download Python, if you should, and how to set it up on this CFN YouTube channel. If the first slide seemed a bit empty, which it is, it's because the rest of them are loaded topics, and it's very important that you understand. For example, okay, so strings, which are words and sentences, they are made up of characters. For example, the word the is made up of T, H, and E. These characters are also known as elements. Elements of the include T, H, and E. To get the first element of a string S, you probably want to do some stuff. For example, actually I already have stuff here. I'm gonna not do that. So let's say you have a string S. S equals A, B, C, D, E. To get the first element, the first letter, in this case it would be A, because A is the first letter. You say print S, open square bracket, 0, close square bracket. The square brackets, if you look at your keyboard, they're next to the P key. P as in potato. So S, square bracket 0, end square bracket. That gives you A. If you do print S square bracket 1, it should give you B, and so on. So what's going on? When you have a string, there are square brackets with a number n inside the square brackets. The computer looks for the nth element of that string. If n is greater than or equal to the string length, then a type of error is shown because the computer can't get that element. What do I mean by this? This sounds like a bunch of mumbo jumbo. I don't understand this. Well, basically, the 0th element of S is the letter A. This sounds a bit weird because letter A is obviously the first element. But this also means that if I tried to print S of 5, 5 is A, B, C, D, E's length. A, B, C, D, E. That's 5 characters. S of 5 will give me an error because it seems like I'm getting the 5th thing, so it should give me E, but I'm actually getting the 6th letter, so A, B, C, D, E. There would have to be an F here. That is S, square bracket 5. So S, square bracket N, is said S of N, or the nth index of S, which replaces S. If you want to use this actually, you would replace S with the string variable, or string, and N with the number of element you want to get. This number is also known as the index number. So like I said before, there's this thing called zero indexing. I actually didn't say this before, but I meant this. So in many programming languages, the first element has an index of 0. So this A has an index of 0 instead of 1. So in other words, if you want to get the first letter of a string S, that would be S of 0, not S of 1. This is just a deal with it thing because computers like to think in terms of 0 and humans like to think in terms of 1, essentially. So if you want to see it in a problem, this is a problem-like format where this might be what you see in an actual coding thing. So your input is the name of the user, which is one word. The output is the first letter of that name. So if you want to try for yourself, use input with parentheses to get the name, and use print for output to print the first letter of that name. Please pause the video here if you want to try for yourself. Alright, I'm going to show you how to get the first letter of a string as an input. So first you would get the input and hold it in a string, or store it in a string. For example, S equals input. Now in coding competitions, you would leave nothing in here. There would just be nothing. But for the sake of this video, I'll say enter name. And you would say print. Remember how to get the first letter of a string. You would say S of 0, which gets you the first letter. So how about getting the last element? You also know how to get things in between. For example, if I said S equals A, B, C, D, E, in order to get the second letter, that will be S of 1 because everything is backed by 1. So S of 1, because the first one is 0, so the second one has to be 1. To get the letter C, you would say S of 2, and so on. To get the last element, you could do a multitude of things. The easier one is to just say print S of -1. -1 is the number below 0. If you don't know what that is, then I hope that you learn soon. This will get you the letter E because E is the last character. So the last character equals S of -1. Now to get the second to last character, you would do -2. This is D. D is the second from the back. This is a bit different from A because from the front. Front starts at 0, back starts at -1. You can also, there's this thing called len, L-E-N. So it gives an int, which is the length of EXPR. Expr can't have a data type like int, but string and a few others are fine. It does work on strings and other types to come along later. So for example, if I said S equals A, B, C, D, E, I want to print len S. It says 5. 5 is how long this string S is. A, 1, B, 2, C, 3, D, 4, E, 5. So now if you want to get the last element like this, you would say print S of len s, right? Well, let's try running it. Oops. Okay, so if we know that the length is 5, we can basically call it print s of 5, and that is the same thing. This also doesn't work. Remember that if you want to get the last one, this is actually 4 because the first one started at 0, which is 1 less than you expect. 4 is 1 less than 5, which is what you would expect. This means that if you want to get the last thing, you would say len parentheses s minus 1. This will get you the last letter. And I talked about it here. The minus 1 is because of 0 indexing. For example, a string h has a length of 1. To get the letter, you would say s of 0, not s of 1. Because the length, even though the length is 1, s of 1 would actually give you an error. And that's it for this lecture. I hope you got something valuable out of it, and I will see you next time.